All right, happy Friday afternoon, guys. It is Chris from the Spark Blog here, and this is going to be our first installment of Talking It Out. We're going to talk it out what happened last night in the Eagles draft, and I'm going to explain to you basically why everything went exactly the way we needed it to go, or why everything that happened was good. It was. Usually I assume this role anyway as kind of the group soothsayer because that's what sports are supposed to be. They're supposed to be something to entertain you and keep you optimistic about. And the way that the draft panned out, the pick that the Eagles made, and then what it sets up for the picks that the Eagles can make tonight and for the rest of the draft tomorrow, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. A lot of good stuff to be optimistic about. All right, now, I put up a Facebook post right before the draft yesterday, basically explaining all my thoughts about why the Eagles did need to pick a wide receiver with that first pick at 21. I thought it needed to be the move. I didn't want to see a trade back. There were two options I would have traded up for, and unfortunately, one of those options became a very realistic scenario that the Eagles didn't capitalize on. But they still were able to draft the wide receiver, and one of the few that was the actual scheme fit that the Eagles needed in their offense. Not only that, but wasn't a waste. In drafting Jalen Reagor, the Philadelphia Eagles drafted a player that is already going to be the second best wide receiver in their wide receiver core right now, right this second. He plays a lot like Deshaun Jackson, but what I'm going to get into is that he's kind of a lot different in terms of what he will get asked to do and what he can do as a wideout. Now, as a returner, it just makes it even better. But what Jalen Reagor can do on the outside and on the inside, and just being the wide receiver that Carson Wentz can have to just count on, and to maybe bail them out of a lot of his situations, because that is what Jalen Reagor did last year. It's not a narrative. It is a statement of fact that Jalen Reagor was playing for a horrible quarterback last year. I have no beef with Max Duggan. He was a freshman last year. He might end up turning into a phenomenal quarterback in the NCAA. He's bad. And Jalen Reagor was the alpha dog, and he was the only option he had, and he still did everything he could with defenses knowing that you could just double this guy up and basically shut down the passing offense at TCU, and he still got his. So let's go back and let's start from the beginning. Obviously, and I mentioned this in that Facebook post that I wrote and put it on the screen here, there were three wide receivers that were, better overall prospects than Jalen Reagor. Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. The order I have it is CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, with Lamb and Ruggs being much higher than Jeudy. And in my book, that's regardless of Jeudy's injury concerns. Lo and behold, the man had a torn meniscus. He wasn't telling anybody about it, and he got it fixed 2 months before the draft. All right, perfect. Case in point right there. So you're looking at CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs. Now, what every Eagles fan, mine included, all my roommates here, everybody that was watching the draft together, everybody that was watching the draft at home, the ideal dream scenario, the first ideal dream scenario, was that Henry Ruggs naturally fell back to 21. But that got snipped pretty early. He got picked 12th by the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's a phenomenal pick. He's awesome. He's going to make Carr's life a lot easier. And that is what it is. You can't expect when your goal for a player is to have them fall back to you that some other team isn't going to value them just as much. So that's all well and good. The one that hurts is CeeDee Lamb being the third wide receiver still on the board. So then Ruggs gets picked at 12. He kind of intimates that the Denver Broncos were all in on him, and that maybe the Raiders, as division rivals, were able to figure that out and draft him before the Broncos could. So then the Broncos go and draft Ruggs' teammate, Jerry Jeudy, not CeeDee Lamb. As a guy who had Lamb way number one. I'm talking like, I think CeeDee Lamb is AJ Green. He's phenomenal. He's going to just step in and he's going to go for 1,300 yards in a fucking Cowboys uniform, which is, it's horrible. And that's what's unfortunate is that. So CeeDee Lamb, in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, was just this elite franchise-altering talent that could have still been out there. What doubles the pain and anguish of the CeeDee Lamb situation was that the Atlanta Falcons were drafting 16th. They do not need wide receiver help. Okay. The Dallas Cowboys are drafting 17th. They don't really need wide receiver help, but they knew that the Philadelphia Eagles wanted to draft a wide receiver in the first round. That's how the NFL draft works. That's what hurts the most is that, so the Falcons are drafting at 16. They end up taking A.J. Terrell, who, if they would have made a trade with the Eagles, swapped picks, the Eagles would have probably given up the 53rd pick that they have tonight. Whatever you do in that trade, that guy A.J. Terrell is going to be there at 21, which means that it was a feasible trade. The guy that they wanted, nobody's going to draft A.J. Terrell between 17 and 20. And so as Eagles fans, you do have the right to feel disappointed about that. That like Howie, that's your opportunity. Alas, as it turns out, in talking to Howie, he loved Jalen Reagor at 21 more than the opportunity to trade up to 16 to get CeeDee Lamb anyway. I'm totally fine with that. And the video highlights that we're going to show in a second lend to why I actually am totally fine with that. The only problem is that that line of thought has to be checked and couched and countered with CeeDee Lamb is now on the Dallas Cowboys for the foreseeable future, at least the next 4 years, probably the next 10 years. And that sucks. All right. But remember, we're talking it out. I am your soothsayer. I am the optimist. I'm going to show you why, CeeDee Lamb's on the Dallas Cowboys, but Jalen Reagor's on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a good thing. First reason, where the Eagles were and why they needed the wideout. Obviously, the production problems, that's been the main story. That's the thing that everybody points to. We could show those numbers real quick. I mean, it's horrible. You can't lie about the non-production that the Eagles were getting out of the wide receiver position. And you can't expect too much out of any of them, but there's reasons to have reasonable expectations for the three wide receivers, Deshaun Jackson, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Greg Ward. Now, the good thing about those being the three wideouts that probably are going to be coming back from last year on the roster next year are they fill out the three kind of different archetypes, prototypes of the three different types of wide receivers that you're going to run in the NFL offense. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, even though like the Eagles really tried to just hammer him into like being a slot receiver last year, is more of your red zone threat, big body, true X, like Alshon Jeffrey. You know, get open 12 yards away from the line of scrimmage, use your big body to box out somebody, catch the football. Or we're going to just use you in the red zone, and we're going to have you run slants and be bigger than everybody and catch the football. So that's the one type of wideout. Then you have Greg Ward, which is your natural slot wideout. Slight of frame, very fast, can move his body fast in those lateral, those horizontal, your true crosses, your tight slants, your overs and boundary outs, to just be like a little water bug, sort of. And they used him so well in that, and he probably is even better than just like a slot guy. But that's what his role is in the offense. And then you have Deshaun Jackson, which is the why. He can be on the slot. He can go out on the boundary. His whole point is to be the wide receiver that can get lined up anywhere and then can get asked to do anything. Now, looking at ages, all right, if those are the three wideouts that you're going to keep having on the roster in the future, you're going to have the least amount of time with Deshaun Jackson. If that's the case, you get 2 years out of this guy, max. And it's only like those 2 years are the 2 years of his physical prime. Hate to say it. I mean, that's it. He's got 2 years as a competent, contributing, above average NFL wide receiver left in his tank. So drafting Jalen Reagor, who is exactly that Y type of wideout, exactly the wideout that literally can get lined up anywhere, and then you're not going to just inherently know, oh, Jalen Reagor's in the slot on this play. So he going to be running a classic slot wide receiver in, or they might have, they might run the X in on a cross and then send Reagor on the vertical off that picker. No, wherever he is on the field, I mean, really, it can be, hey, this is your time on this play, like 60-yard go. And then we'll run the exact same play from the exact same spot of the field later on in the game, and we're going to do a 5-yard button hook. And he's perfectly capable of just doing exactly what you need him to do on both of those plays. So that's the first reason why he, of any other wideout picked, it just was the right choice. You're basically looking at 4 other wide receivers that could have gotten drafted by the Eagles in that position. What everybody on Twitter wanted, not what everybody on Twitter wanted, what half the people on Twitter wanted, was LSU wide receiver Justin Jefferson. I have the same problems with Justin Jefferson as I have of Clemson wideout T. Higgins. They didn't draft either of those guys. Probably took some restraint to not draft Justin Jefferson because those numbers don't really lie, but there's a lot that his tape proves that what he succeeded in the college level, he cannot bring to the NFL level. We'll touch on that in a second. But very thrilled that aside from not drafting T. Higgins, they don't draft Justin Jefferson. And then the two other wideouts that could have gotten drafted in the same spot that I'm also high on are Denzel Mims of Baylor and Laviska Shenault Jr. of Colorado. Now, Denzel Mims, I would have been equally as floored, honestly, if the Eagles drafted him at 21. I seriously mean that. I think this guy is just like Jalen Reagor, literally any spot on the field, especially because Denzel Mims is like 6'3", 210. You just throw him out there in spots and he's going to win. And that's how playing the wide receiver position in the NFL works. You win as a wideout by fucking winning your one-on-one and being physically a better football player than the guys that are trying to defend you. That's what the current NFL has turned into. Literally, Jalen Reagor is now the epitome of an OBJ-type player, where physically they're going to get it all right. And Denzel Mims is that too. So in that regard, those two players they were my 4 and 5. So once you got past CeeDee Lamb, Henry Rugg, and Jerry Jeudy, I'll acknowledge that Jerry Jeudy, until he gets hurt, okay, remember this, like until he gets hurt, because it's going to happen, will probably be a pretty competent, contributing NFL wideout. I'm not going to say he won't be, all right? There's that. 4 and 5 were Reagor and Mims. 4 and 5 were Reagor and Mims. Laviska Shenault was my 6. He has some injury concerns that Reagor and Mims never dealt with, and so that's why I would hang him back a little bit. And I would have been happy if they would have drafted Laviska Shenault, but you can get Shenault or Mims. I really feel like at 53, and God, it might be cool if they do that. So, and then after that, I would probably finally slot in Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins. So yes, Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins probably still would have been ahead of those guys, ranking-wise, chronologically, but they would have been horrible picks at 21. My main problem with Justin Jefferson, and this is the last thing I want to talk about before we start getting into the Jalen Reagor tapes, is Justin Jefferson played 3 seasons for the LSU football team, 2 of them with Joe Burrow. Monumental spike in his numbers with Joe Burrow, quarterback, and especially with just that meteoric heaven-sent rise of play, the heaven-sent run of play that Joe Burrow showed us this past season. You're not going to get quarterback play like that in the NFL in your first year as a rookie wideout. He got drafted by the Vikings, the pick after the Eagles. You really think Kirk Cousins is going to make Justin Jefferson look as good as Joe Burrow did? And what I mean by that is Kirk Cousins using Justin Jefferson as a target against NFL defenders versus Joe Burrow using Justin Jefferson as a target against collegiate defenders, albeit SEC defenders, but against college kids. That's what I mean. It's impossible. Joe Burrow had Justin Jefferson, had Jamar Chase on the other side, had Terrace Marshall Jr. in the slot, or Racey McMath in the slot. Either way, absolute burners. Had Thaddeus Moss at tight end, had Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, and then is the smartest and best quarterback in college football. So really, it was never a question of asking Justin Jefferson, hey, dude, go win this, or hey, you got to be the guy to create this separation. I mean, there have been 3 other dudes on the roster that they could have asked before that. Justin Jefferson knew, I'm going to benefit from single coverage a lot. I know how to read this. I can just sit right here and Burrow's going to find me. And it was a great way to win football games. It is not a great way to come to the NFL and make a difference. And I think everybody got infatuated with seeing those things, and then they get to add it together, and they think it adds up to Justin Jefferson being this perfect prospect in the NFL. It's just like the Jordan Matthews scenario when the Eagles drafted Jordan Matthews back in 2014. He set the SEC receiving records, was the only wide receiver in his scenario at Vanderbilt, so he got to just accumulate his numbers. Everybody looks at everything. They see a couple of flashy big plays. They see a 40 time that was better than the 40 time that was expected, and all of a sudden that equals like a can't-miss talent, a can't-miss prospect. And what do you get in Jordan Matthews is a guy that every now and then physically wins routes. Most of the time, isn't separating enough from the defenders. Most of the time, not the most sure-handed guy on the football field, and just a complete oversell of what the talent was versus what the talent would be on an NFL field. And I just, look, you can tell me anything you want. I am here to listen, but you can't argue with the fact that Justin Jefferson is not going to be able to do the things that he did as a LSU wideout in any scenario as a Minnesota Vikings wideout. And now this is where you can disagree with me, obviously, but he's not good enough in any of those other things. Whereas let's start getting into Jalen Reagor film. He, on his own damn merit, as a football player, is doing all of it on his own. There was a horrible offensive line for 2 of the 3 seasons that Jalen Reagor played at TCU. Very bad quarterback play for the most recent season. And just him. I mean, just Jalen Reagor as your downfield options. And so having cleared all of that out as to why I think it was good, that, aside from not making a move for CeeDee Lamb when it presented itself, that's the one. That staying at 21 and then drafting him and not anybody else was the right thing to do. So let's start looking at Jalen Reagor highlight plays. This first one it's pretty disgusting, honestly. Maybe I should save this one for later, but they are in West Lafayette, Indiana. They're playing Purdue. Max Duggan, who is the quarterback that I threw some shade at earlier, actually, good quick read. If you look at the timestamp on this, it is 1.4 seconds from the time he receives the snap to the time he lets go of the football, which means in 1.4 seconds, Jalen Reagor has already gotten to this point. He releases off the line, he gets 6 yards down the field, and makes a move to create 2 more yards of separation from the defensive back in 1.4 seconds. And then just watch what he does after he catches the football. Clearly elite athleticism and foot speed that you very much need at the NFL level. Big first down. Watch this play develop. He is at the bottom of the screen here. Man coverage, the broadcasters hint on it. If you watch the replay, you can see that his quarterback even gives him the thumbs up. So we know it's man coverage, it's one-on-one. Now, usually, 3rd and goal, you're not running a fade route. 1st or 2nd down, but definitely not when you're trailing by 25 in the 3rd quarter would you run a fade route on 3rd and goal. When you have a 5'11", 200 receiver, most of the time, your first option is to not hit him on a fade route. But not only does Jalen Reagor win twice in his man-to-man coverage in his release off the line, he completely outclasses him on the jump timing, great hands, high points the ball, shows off that vertical that he has at just 5'11", and literally plays that play like any big-bodied 6'3", 6'4" plus receiver would do. He can beat any man and the chasing safety, get up there and catch the fade pattern, just toss, go win it ball in the end zone. That's awesome. Kind of more of the same thing here, but what this play does is highlight on-field, in-play route speed. So it's field speed. This play starts at the 22-yard line. If you're watching Jalen Reagor at the top of the screen, he gets to a point so fast in 10 yards of running where the defensive back is now speed turning, meaning he has no clue where Reagor is going to go next. He could run right past him. He could cross in front of him, but he's at the point where he has to acknowledge that Jalen Reagor has already gotten past him, which means that Jalen Reagor can go any direction he wants. So it only took him 10 yards to get to that spot on the field. Then immediately slow plays that perfectly so that he doesn't need his quarterback to make a difficult throw over the middle. Let's throw one up there. Yes, I'm 5'11", but I'm going to outjump this guy because I already won position on him. And then while the rest of the time the ball's in the air, it's tracking, it's getting to the right spot, and then it's being past the guy and jumping higher, and look at how well he does it. Because of Jalen Reagor, TCU got back into a game that they were losing by 25 points. I mean, wow. This next play is really going to highlight that disparity at quarterback play that I was talking about. Now, granted, they are losing by 7 with 2 minutes left. You got to get the ball down the field, and it's awesome that Duggan trusted Jalen Reagor this much, but the play starts. He gets flushed to his right. Now, as you can see, slot option open. Might be a tight window on the sideline, but it's there. It's not impossible. Instead, our buddy Duggan locks and lows and just puts up a wild ball right into the middle of double coverage. But luckily for him, Reagor's there. He's giving up 2 inches to this defensive back, jumps right over the back of him, steals the ball out of his hands, knows he's going to get drilled by the safety behind it, holds right onto it, makes it look like the easiest catch of the day. TCU's drive gets to continue because Jalen Reagor is just too good at being a football player. I mean, this is absolutely inexplicable. It's just trust that you have a wide receiver that's going to get the job done. If Carson could have gotten bailed out like this, a lot of things would have been different in the prior seasons, these last 2 seasons in particular. This is great because this helps solidify a crazy upset win against Texas. It's tied 20-20 in the third quarter. You can't run a play that risks turning the ball over and giving the ball back to the better team. So, Jalen Reagor, man coverage at the bottom of the screen. There is a high safety. Now, I got to give Duggan credit here. He sees that once the play starts, the safety runs off of the bottom of the screen, off the left side of the field, towards the middle of the field. Reagor sees it too and realizes all I have to do is just run right past this guy. But look at how easily he runs right past this guy. I mean, no chance. You don't have to worry about the speed turning or nothing. He puts the head down. He runs right past him. So anybody worried about that 4.47 40, if you watch his pro day, he ran a 4.22 40, confirmed on a couple of different camera angles. He has field speed, inarguable. Put the head down, run right past the great defender. This is just awesome to watch and awesome to envision happening in Midnight Green. This is our last video of the film study, Boone Pickens Stadium. This is going to show you that Jalen Reagor is okay with putting his body on the line. Now, as this play unfolds, he beats the corner. There's a safety off right around the hash. He's ghost for a touchdown right now. Put it on the board. It's 6 points. Except, as you see, right as our buddy Max Duggan decides to let go of the football, gets hit. Reagor sees the trajectory change in the ball, chops his stride, gets back inside the cornerback so he can be at the spot where he can catch the ball, not let the safety come through for an interception, and take a giant hit. But he instinctively makes the change in stride work, catches the football, huge play to keep a big drive going. And it's so instinctive, and it's so fast, and the willingness to put your body on the line, plus the ability to recognize that your quarterback got hit, it's incredible. I've more or less run out of superlative adjectives to describe this guy. And worth noting, on that last play in the Oklahoma State game that we showed you, he actually fought off a pass interference in the midst of all that to come down with that catch. He made his quarterback look so good when the dude was so not that good of a quarterback. He was the only option. Everybody knew what to look out for with him, and he still can and did everything he needed to on the football field for that team, which just makes you, I mean, Doug Peterson is going to love having this guy at his disposal. So after you've looked at those videos now, I hope that you can probably just try and feel a little bit better of realizing that you're not going to find in Justin Jefferson's game film any real example of him bailing Joe Burrow out or saving Joe Burrow's hide or just ever being just the best player on the field. You're never going to find in T. Higgins' game film an example of him bailing Trevor Lawrence out or being the reason that a broken play all of a sudden worked. It's not who they are. And so thusly, it's not what the Eagles need. The Eagles need a wide receiver that can do bad by their own damn self. And that's what this man is. This guy is able to do anything and everything on a football field. He comes from great pedigree. His dad played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Aaron Moorhead, who is going to be his wide receivers coach on the Eagles, longtime teammates with his dad when his dad was also on the Colts. It's meant to be. Guys, it's meant to be. And if you can't take everything that we've already discussed and look at that video and agree, then that's fine. That's your prerogative, but you shouldn't be down on this at all. This was great. The Eagles have 2 picks tonight. This took me a little while to put together, so we're getting kind of close to the second and third round starting. They could go any direction now because they got the wide receiver of the future. It's going to give you longevity. He's going to give you... He can run it out of the backfield. He's going to be your punt returner and kick returner. Well, he's definitely going to be your kick returner from day one. I don't know if Deshaun still wants the punt return job. Who knows how that's going to play out, but it's awesome. Because we couldn't get Henry Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy. I don't really care about Jerry Jeudy. We couldn't get Henry Ruggs. We chose not to get CeeDee Lamb. We got him. Be damn excited. I think he's going to be wearing number 18 on the Eagles. That should make any Jeremy Maclin fan proud. He's going to wear it well, and it's going to be awesome. Go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly. Trust Howie. Let's see what he's got in store for tonight. This was Talking It Out with Chris Del Sordo on the Spark. We got more of this to come.